Okay, there are a few things today on this table that I'm going to talk about. This is going to be an somewhat of an unboxing. It's not really an unboxing because I've already unboxed all of these before, prior from recording this video. So it's going to be a video of my initial impressions. Like, I've not listened to all of these IEMs for quite a lot of it. It's not. I haven't done an extensive listen to any of these IEMs, although I actually have listened enough to give a bit of a first impression, I guess, to all of these IEMs. So hopefully, if you're really curious on how they sound, you might have an idea on what you're getting at. But it's not going to be as reliable or accountable as something that I would usually do in a full review. Sorry, I can't really talk very loudly in this video because it's like 4 AM in the morning. I have quite a bit of trouble sleeping, so I decide I'll just record a video. Okay, but today we're going to have the Tripowin X HBB Mele IM. You also have the Reecho, or the Usicon, because I have no idea why, but this particular unit, it's supposed to be a Reecho, but if you'd understand when I start unboxing this IM that its name is actually Usicon, but it's the same unit. It looks the same. It sounds similarly to what a lot of the Reecho SG-01's frequency response would suggest it sounds like. So it's supposed to be the exact same IEM. So yeah, the Reecho SG-01 and the T2 EVO. This is going to be an interesting one. Very interesting one. The 7Hertz timeless. I'm really excited to actually talk about this one. And this is an actually quite an old set. It's the Moondrop Crescent. The reason it's here is because I've never talk about this IEM, and I bought all of these. Like, I've received all of these in this week, so might as well just talk a little bit about the Moondrop. I don't think I will do an actual full review of the Crescent because it's discontinued, and the only way you're getting one is probably getting them second-hand, and that's if you're living in an Asian country where a lot of Moondrops still run around. But when you when you're living in Western countries or Africa or somewhere else, I don't think you would get your hands on one of these. Although I don't think you're gonna miss that much. So yeah. First off, let's just get to the maybe the Stargate, the Reecho SG-01. I'm gonna put all the rest right on top of my tube amp right there, and yeah. So yeah, you can see it's Usicon, although it should have been Reecho, but for some reason it's Usicon here. And yeah, I don't know, I don't do a lot of unboxing videos because I've never found unboxing videos interesting in any shape or form, but it seems that a lot of people really like it. So, and putting out the first impression of these excellent, not excellent, maybe newer IEMs are usually quite wanted or like desired by the viewers, so might as well just put in the unboxing there too. So it's this textured type of box, you also get this case right here. The case contains the cables. I think the cables are actually not here. Either the cables or the ear tips actually in this box, but kind of forgot which one. And you have actually quite generous amount of 9 pairs of ear tips. You do have a lot of different shapes for the ear tips. You have the wide balls, the medium balls, and the small balls. This is quite a... I actually prefer the smaller ball, because of reasons that I would explain later. You have this cable, which a lot of people don't actually like, but to be honest, I'm okay with it. The problem is this thing doesn't have a little bit of, usually have a bit of notch before the jack, and it's quite troublesome when I try to plug them into my phone case. And yeah, the ear hook is fine, to be honest. I don't really like having ear hooks, as you might know, but this one is comfortable enough, so I'm really gonna talk a lot about the cables. The thing about this box is you can't just pull out the IMs here. You need to actually lift the thing and push the IMs out of the foams. So yeah, it's a good thing that they put a bit of a tab right there. And yep, it's okay. We get all the shit and throw it onto my bed. There we go. And first we got the Reecho or Usicon SG-01, which is actually a very well built IM. It has that box shaped pin, I don't know, like shielding or something like the blondes have with their cable. It's square, it's not rounded, so the usual QDC cable can't be used with them. You need to either use the regular 2-pin or the included cable, I guess. I don't know if the blonde cables will fit here, but I doubt that you want to use the shitty blonde cables. Maybe the newer blonde cables, but I think the cable that you get from here is a bit better than those two. The microphone seems to be better here too, because I used to call someone with this microphone and ask the quality, and they say it's pretty good. So yeah. Now about the sound quality of the Reecho SG-01, it's quite a hyped IM. It has been talked about here and there, especially in a lot of audio groups, or IM focused audio groups, of course. The Reecho SG-01, in my opinion, is somewhat of a TRN-MT1-ish, V-shape-ish type of signature. It's actually a decently sounding, decently tuned V-shape IM. It's sometimes it gets a bit bright. Maybe it's the perfect IM if you listen to a lot of KZs, and as you know, I don't really like a lot of KZs, as you might know. If you listen to very Chi-Fi V-shape IMs, like peaky Chi-Fi V-shapes like a lot of the KZs, and when you transition into something like the Starfields or the Blondes or maybe the Tanchims, and you experienced that they sound not as exciting and not as fun, as you would prefer them to be, or they're a bit too smooth or too dark, too, I don't know, like they're too boring for you probably. I think the Reecho or the Usicon SG-01 fits there in terms of tuning, and I think it's more of a original Hi-Fi V shape, the standard KZ Hi-Fi V shape, but you make them, you mold them into something that still care about their tonal balance. Yeah, I guess that's that. It's not the most balanced in terms of its tonality, but it's not inherently wrong or disgusting sounding. So it's quite pleasant in my opinion, although it might get a bit brighter, so I would suggest to use different ear tips than the stock ones, though with the stock ones I do prefer the smaller bore. For technical performance, again, this is the first impression type of video, so I can't really talk a lot about technical performance because it needs a bit more time, I guess, for one to fully assess technical performance, being technical performance a bit more complex than the usual tonal balance. And yeah, for technical performance, I think the spatial presentation here is just average. It's not the widest, it's not the deepest type of soundstage, and imaging is just okay. It's just a good, I guess it's just a good in terms of its price. However, the detail here is actually quite good too. It's actually quite impressive in my opinion for its price point. So yeah, I compared these with the Sound Hard Mirror, one of my favorites. I haven't compared these to a lot of my other IEMs, but I did compare these to my Sound Hard Mirror for a short time, and I still notice that the Sound Hard Mirror is slightly a bit more detailed, and it's also a bit wider, and the spatial presentation is better. But in terms of, while it's noticeably less impressive in their spatial presentation, the detail here is actually quite good. It's actually quite close to the Sound Hard Mirror, although it does have weaknesses, especially in the treble region and the bass region, and yeah, everywhere. I guess it's not the cleanest and not the most smoothest sounding. It's definitely quite intense and rough around the edges in terms of its presentation, and yeah, although it's overall a good sounding IEM, it's not an IEM that I would just like not use ever, because I actually used this a couple of times after purchasing them. Yeah, overall decent. If you're gonna buy one, it's okay. I guess it's quite decent. Let me put them over here so I can talk about you later. And let me get this HBB Mele. It's let me put this over here. Yeah, you have similar. This one is quite simple in terms of packaging. You do have something right there. It's the warranty and yeah, the usual stuff. You got no card. You got no manuals, because all IEMs, of course, they all need manuals because reasons, I guess. And with the Tripowin, you have this simple carrying case, cheap carrying case. I think the Usicon's carrying case is a bit better. It's a bit more premium looking, a bit more premium sealing. This is just the most basic case, but at least it's a case and not a fucking pouch. And yeah, get the IEM right here in there, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of ear tips. I will usually use the largest size, and the ear tips here is okay. I guess it's not the most, it's not the softest, but it does the job pretty well. It's all of them are white ball, which I think really complements the sound here, and it really needs the white ball. Actually, you don't really want a small ball this IM, so yeah. If you kind of think that experience that the Mele is a bit too dark, I think it might be because you use a small ball, because this is definitely not a very bright IM. It's quite dark in its treble quantity. However, if you use a white ball, I think it's fine. I guess it's listenable, but not the brightest sounding. The build quality here is actually a bit, I think it's a bit behind the Tripowin SG-01. The Mele is made out of metal, but although this thing is, I think this is somewhat of an acrylic plastic or stone type of material here. It looks very beautiful. Although when you actually touch the IEM and you compare it with the SG-01, you would notice that the Mele's metal, I guess, it's slightly lower quality in their finish. It's not as detailed in its design, I guess. And yeah, you get that HBB logo there too, and yeah, but it looks beautiful and it fits quite well to my ears. The cable is fine. I really like the cable actually, because this thing is very tiny and it's straight too. I prefer the straight jack over the angle jack. It's a 2-pin connector like the user cons. Now for sound quality, to be honest, the sound quality of the HBB is interesting, I guess. It's definitely not the most technical, it's definitely not the most detailed, and it's a bit on the average side in terms of speed and dynamics. Maybe the dynamics is a bit, I think the dynamics is a bit lacking here. I think it's quite less dynamic than the Reecho SG-01. It's a bit more relaxed sounding. It's the tonal balance here is very good, though. I really applaud HBB for tuning. For the tuning, it's definitely very pleasant in terms of tonal balance. I think he really nails the tuning. Although I would prefer a bit more extension in the treble region. Although I don't think it's the fault of the tuner. I think it's more of the fault of the driver itself being not as good, because it's still a very budget IM. For its tuning, to be honest, I can't find an IM at this price range that is maybe as well tuned as the HBB Mele, and I think I actually prefer these over the Balon 03s too, and the ME755's tuning. Although the ME755 do have a bit more treble, upper treble there, these are a bit darker there. Although with the wider bore, it's okay, I guess. I don't have that sense of clarity in its presentation. I don't have that feeling. It's definitely not the most resolving IM, although the spatial presentation is actually quite good. The stage is quite wide in my experience, especially if you use a well recorded binaural recordings, such as a lot of the Chesky music. They actually sound very good in terms of its spatial presentation. The bass here is not bad, I guess. It's not the tightest, not the fastest type of bass. It's somewhat of an improved blonde bass. It definitely has less bloat and bloom than the fucking Blono Freeze, but it's still not the most resolving in terms of micro details everywhere from bass, miss, and treble. I think I don't have that sense of cleanness and just overall resolution in my listening experience with these, but it sounds very good. It sounds very, very nice. So I actually I haven't listened to these for enough time to actually really judge these completely. That'll be for the full review, but as of now, I think it's quite safe for me to recommend these. Although the Reecho SG-01 is a bit more detailed than the Mele. The spatial presentation that you have in the Mele is quite pleasant too. But if you really don't really care about micro details, to be honest, a lot of people don't really care about micro details over a soundstage. I think some of you might enjoy the Mele a bit more. Yeah, but it's I need to note that this is quite a bit darker in its presentation than the Reecho SG-01. It's quite a bit lacking in its treble region. It might reduce the sense of openness that you might experience in a lot of IEMs, especially the upper treble boosted IEM. So yeah, both of these are actually quite decent sounding IEMs, I must say. While they are probably not the most they're probably not the most mind-bending, like wallet-breaking, like price point destroying IEMs, such as the Tinty 2s when it was first released, or the Blono Freeze. But they're definitely a contender, I guess, especially the HBB Mele for its tuning. I think it's one of the more excuse me, I think it's one of the most well-tuned IEM at this price point. I think it's a bit more well-tuned than the Hositon Hot Mirror. It's a bit more well-tuned than the what do you call it, the Tinty 2s. I think it's up there with the Tinty 2 Plus, which is also one of the more better tuned IEM at this price point. Although this has, I think, a wider sound stage, although less extension in its treble region. The bass here is very pleasant too, although still, yeah, not the most resolving type of bass. And then we're going to talk a bit about the Tinty 2 EVO. Yes, of course. That is the sigh of disappointment, the Tinty 2 EVOs. It's a bit sad, I guess, when I listen to my Tinty 2s, my beloved Tinty 2s, the best, one of the best IEMs, under $100 in its technical performance and overall decent tonal balance. I think it's a bit natural sounding too. It's one of my favorite IEMs. Just one of my favorite IEMs, like full stop. Very wide soundstage, very detailed and fast response, and for its price. The Tinty 2 EVO is... Let me just do the unboxing. First of all, the unboxing here looks simple, but this thing is very, very difficult to open. I think this side is easier than the one with the actual tab. So yeah, actually open it from here. And you have the box right there. I'm gonna just put my Mele and the to the side. And you have the box right here, and in the box you have this IM, and with the IM you can just push. No, you can't. You need to peel it off. The ear tips here is very, very supple. It's very, very soft. It's very, very pliable. I guess I don't know if it's the correct term to use for ear tips. It's very, very soft. It's actually quite pleasant in my opinion. The cable is the usual 10T2 cable. You also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of ear tips. I think they are all the same. I guess they are all the same. And you do have the 6th pair, which is the old but gold tin foam, which is always a good thing to have. And you of course have the pouch, which is fucking useless, because who uses the pouch? I don't really need to talk about the tin T2 cable because it's garbage. It tangles like crazy, and that's probably it. I don't like using this cable, although I do use it actually sometimes, but every time I used one I always regret it at the end, so not my favorite cable, definitely not. But at least it's okay to, if you don't have another cable with them. I usually just pair them with my oh wait, I need to actually fasten the cable to put it there. Shit, I dropped something. Let me just fasten the cable just for the aesthetics, I guess. And get this shit all out of my face. And there we go. And with the 10T2 EVOs, to be honest, I have no idea what they are thinking when they are manufacturing these, because these actually one of the worst sounding tin hi-fi in terms of their tuning. It's just plain garbage. I don't know, it's just, maybe it's not worse than the 10T2 Pros. Definitely I don't think these are worse than the 10T2 Pros. So I don't really understand the mindset of tin hi-fis when manufacturing the 10T2s Pros and the EVOs. It's because they have this, it's the 10T2s, it's a very, very good sounding IEM. It's wide, it's detailed, it's fast, it's dynamic, it's neutral-ish, but it has a bit of a treble peak at 8K and a bit series of peaks at the upper treble region, although yeah, which might contribute in its slightly grainy frequency, which results in a slight frequency response related grain in its treble region. But it's overall a decent sounding IEM, and the only complaint that a lot of people have with the 10T2s is usually surrounds in two categories. One of them is going to be the treble being a bit too peaky there, and the bass being a bit lacking, although I don't really agree with this point, because I think the bass here is even maybe sometimes too much, especially in the mid and upper bass region. I think it just needs to be a bit more contoured properly. I think it's going to have to be a bit, yeah, contoured more properly, it's instead of just increasing the quantity of the bass. So yeah. But with the 10T2 Pros, you have that peak, right? You have that peak, and the 10T2 Pros just yoink and just add like 10 dBs of extra peak there. And I have no idea why the fuck would anyone do that type of dumb shit. And of course the audiophile community would just like go crazy and then said, holy shit, this thing sucks. Which they do. They do suck, the 10T2 Pros. So with the 10T2 EVOs, they actually listened and they, oh my god, the 10T2 Pros are so peaky, and there's one peak right there. And of course they actually fixed the problem with the peak in the 10T2 EVOs by removing that peak and making it just like that. What they didn't do, they didn't reduce the peak like this and making it smoother like this. They remove the peak by increasing the frequency of everything else and making it somewhat of a contoured type of presentation. I have no idea the fuck why they did that. I think it's quite a dumb move in my opinion. It makes everything just overly bright. I don't think these don't sound peaky, because these aren't peaky, these are just bright. It's somewhat of a SSR-ish type of bright. It's the difference here is the peak is not at 3K, the peak is at 6K, which might actually make it a bit worse. Although it's a bit more slow rising than instantaneous rise. So the mid-range, just the mid-range, I think it's noticeably a lot more balanced than the SSR, because the SSR would just like yoink jump to like 16 to 18 dB jump from 1K to like 3K. However, in the case of the 10T2 EVO, I think it's a gradual rise from 1K to 6K, and that is a monumental 15 dB rise. Although, considering what they've done with the SSR, that rise is actually not as bad. However, if you actually EQ'd that them and make them lose that somewhat of an 8 dB elevation there, it's quite dumb in my opinion. It's like 5 dB. Just reduce 7K and 6K by about like 6 dBs. I think it's actually a pleasant sounding IEM. But yeah, the thing, you know, the sauce, man, the sauce is just ruining the fucking IEM. The extra sauce of adding that type of shit right there, type of bullshit right there, is just ruining the 10T2 EVOs, because this is a very, very technical IEM, and I'm fucking mad about it. It is detailed. It's detailed. It's well controlled. The detail is about the same with the 10T2s and about the same. It's not, maybe slightly more than the Reecho SG-01, especially the treble, because it's very elevated there. The bass is more controlled and textured. It's actually very controlled and actually quite textured. It's like a more controlled version of the 10T2 bass, because the 10T2 bass might get a bit overwhelming if you plugged it into a high voltage. I tubed both of these, and the 10T2 EVO sounds very good out of a tube. because it adds a bit more warmth to its presentation. The mid-range is a bit more balanced here. You don't have a slight lower mid-range hump like the ones you have in the 10T2, the original 10T2s. The soundstage, the imaging is... The soundstage is about as wide as the 10T2, and it might get a bit wider if you use the correct tracks. However, it's about as wide as the 10T2s. But it's the imaging, I think it's a bit more precise in the EVOs. The problem with the 10T2s is they have a very wide stage, but they have quite a diffused type of imaging, so it's not as precise, not as clean imaging. The imaging is better here. So overall it might be, it's not as dynamic, maybe that the dynamics, I think it's still in the favor of the 10T2, the original 10T2s. So it's about equally or even slightly more technical than the 10T2s, depending on what you consider superior. But the tuning is just horrible. It's the timbre is destroyed by the fucking tuning. It's just an overly thin sounding, disgusting type of brightness that makes everything except for an extremely well recorded music such as the Chesky recordings, and I mean only the very best recording that really makes everything sounds good. I think that the thing about Chesky recordings is they are very, very good to notice, for you to notice technical performance, for you to notice good tonal balance, to be honest, good tonal balance, because the tonal balance seems off here, but it doesn't sound horrible, but you notice that things sounds off there. But it's bad if you're going to look for peaks, because everything is addressed there and everything sounds good there. I guess, yeah. But so the overly bright presentation of the 10T2s gets a bit evened out by the excellent recording of Chesky. However, anything else, especially if I listen to something like Images and what, I forgot the name, Images and Words, I forgot, by what do you call it, Dream Theater, Pull Me Under, the first track, Pull Me Under. Oh my god, the treble is just, that everything just sounds unbearable, and Pull Me Under is one of those older tracks that are actually very well recorded. And yeah, these with those kind of tracks are just unbearable, especially if you're going to pair these with modern pop songs, which definitely not going to be so pleasant sounding with these. So I'm really mad about the fucking City. I would be yelling right now. I would be fucking yelling right now if it's not. Now it's 5 AM in the morning. I would be fucking screaming right now, to be honest. Because how the fuck can you make an IEM at this low price being as technical, as fucking technical as they are, like the 10T2s, but you ruined the fucking tuning because you made it a bit, no, not just a bit, a lot too bright. It's not even the type of peak, it's not just one peak or like two peaks. I can actually forgive that. It's just making everything bright. Like, why the fuck would you do that? I EQ'd these and it sounds fucking good, But when I listen to these without EQ, it's shit. It's absolute shit. Horrible. Though. Yeah, it's just. I'm sad, man. The Tin T2's still the best tin hi-fi, in my opinion, in my book. It's sad, man. It's just a sad day. It's a disappointing day. But it's less disappointing now because I have with me the 7Hertz Timeless. This is very, very, very interesting. I was kind of pleasantly surprised when taking a listen to these, because these sound very, very, very good. Yeah, let's open this thing now. The 4.4 Pentagon version. It's not actually Pentagon, but I don't know why do we call it Pentagon. Pentagon is the name of a brand, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's by a company named 7Hertz. I think they made the i7-71 and the i9-9, but I've never listened to any of them. But yeah, you got the Timeless, which is a planar driver, which is quite rare. I've never listened to planar IEMs, except for the tin hi-fis, the tin P1s and the P2s, which are garbage. I mean, they're not actually garbage. They are actually quite good, but the upper treble just ruins everything for me. They're actually decent, I guess. Without the upper treble, they're decent, but with the upper treble, the shit. Because for younger ears, for younger audiophiles such as me, I can't take the ultra elevated upper treble. It's just too unbearable for me. And I'm really excited because seeing the frequency response of these 7Hertz, I instantly just want to buy one. It's very exciting for me because I really like planar headphones. I have the HE6 lying on my bed right there, and my LCD-X and my Arias, and I really like a lot of planar headphones. Yeah, but IEMs, I've never heard any planar sounds as good as these. So any planar IEMs that sound as good as these. So I'm really excited in telling you these. Although this the usual Chinese translation, that's crap. This is an auditory revolution. Wow. Headphones are no longer cold equipment. What the fuck do you mean by that then? Timeless feels the temperature of music with you. It's like the opposite type of thing. But yeah, it's just Chinese translation. Good thing they make good sound, so shit. Okay, here we go. And I can forgive everything if they make good sounds, even bad translation. And yeah, the case here is insanely beautiful. Oh my god, this is a work of art. This is the case here is a work of art. This is made out of stainless steel. I think it's made of stainless steel. It's, oh my god, it's somewhat of a velvet type of linings here, and you have the IEMs. It's actually not the ear tips that come with the IEMs. Here's my Sony Triple Comfort. I really like the pairing because it helped reduce the planar timbre, because it does still have planar timbre. So yeah, oh my god, holy shit, it's so fucking orgasmic. Like, this is so fucking orgasmic. I'm gonna keep it right here. I'm not gonna put them in the box because of this. Oh my god. Although it's not very functional because it's heavier. and it's hard, and it's scratchable, I guess. So you're not really going to carry these anywhere, but putting them on the table is just, oh, holy shit, it looks premium as fuck. The IM's build quality is made out of metal also, but it's not as clean as the case. The case is built better than the fucking IMs. Although it's made out of metal, it's actually, this IM is a big one. It's a big boy. It has 14mm drivers, which 14.2 I guess, which is disappointingly less than my EX1000. It had 16mm driver, get on my fucking level, and yeah, it's overall very decently built. The size of it might not be for everyone, because I know a couple of people who would not fit these in their ears. Although it's quite a shallow fit, so you might can have that one. It's an MMCX connector. Fucking comfortable with that. I'm fucking comfortable with that. It's okay. I have the 4.4 Pentagon because balance rules. And for the ear tips, you actually have quite a few selections of ear tips. They are also generous enough, actually handing you quite a few ear tips. So you have the Acouston AET8 look-alike ear tips. I don't know if it's actually the original Acouston. They feel very good. They look very good. This kind of looks like the AET07, 07 Acouston 2. You do have this type of, this is the stock ear tips that came off with the, it's somewhat of a rubbery medical grade. I don't know if it's actually medical grade or not, or something. I think it's kind of like the sticky rubber type of elastic type of ear tips. You only get one pair of these, so it's a pity because these actually don't fit me, and I would really like them to fit me, but I just can't because these are too small. And yeah, and you also have the rubber ear tips, the blocky rubber ear tips. These actually feels a bit comfortable, in my opinion. And yeah, you do have a lot of selection of ear tips, and you have a replacement filter right here instead, in case of you actually ruining the filter. It looks pretty cool. Yeah, you only get a pair though, so make sure to keep your IM in a safe place, or like clean them regularly. So with the IMs itself, yeah, you do have the cables. Wonderful. It's good looking. It's clean looking. It's soft. It's a good cable. It's a good IM. The color just pops. The colors just, oh my god, it works very well. Beautiful looking and beautiful sounding too. So I don't know what more you want. And with the IMs, with the sound, it's planar. If you've never listened to planar, let the 7Hertz Timeless be your first planar, especially IMs. In the IM world, if you want the headphone world, maybe the Sundara is going to be the best first planar. In the IM world, it's going to be the 7Hertz Timeless, not the Odysseys, not the maybe the Youthlets if you have enough money. But for beginner, no, it's not even a beginner price. This is quite a big boy, $200 price. But that, I think the $200 is very, very worth it. It's so cheap for the sound quality it gives you. It's so detailed, because I've been listening to these IMs for quite a while. So, shit, I hit my mic. I've been listening to all of these quite a while. So the 7Hertz Timeless sounds awfully detailed, and it's so pleasant. The tonal balance is on point. It's not. I do have quite a bit of problem in their tonal balance here and there, but they're fine. They're good. They're good. They're definitely better then I guess all of the other planars out there is better than PMV something. Yeah, it's better than the tint P1s, better than the tint P2s. Oh my god, it's so on point in the planar IEM standard. The bass here is very good. It's not the tightest type of bass I'm looking for. It's not the tightest EX1000 type of bass, but it's well textured, it's well elevated, it's clean and high quality too. The initial leading edge of the transient response, I don't know if I'm really too detailed in talking about it. I might change my mind later, but for now, the initial transient response, the initial hits of the transient response of the 7Hertz might get a bit soft, might be a bit soft for my liking. I prefer them to be a bit faster in the initial leading edge, but the overall transient response is still very good. It's very smooth sounding, and though it still have that type of treble timbre, planar timbre in its treble region, although it's not bad, it's okay, it's acceptable, especially for its low price of $200. It's too cheap in my opinion. I think get them, to be honest, get them while you still can. It's a very pleasant planar. It's a good IEM for collection. I probably won't sell these anytime soon. It's a good IEM for your collection. It's the best planar. Maybe it's the best planar IEM. At least the tuning might suggest that. I don't know. I've never compared these with the Lucid yet, but maybe that's the only competition in terms of its tuning. I haven't seen the tuning there also. So yeah. Yeah. So it's very good sounding, it's very pleasant sounding. The soundstage is wide, it's very wide. Its mid-range might get a bit too much at the 2K region, like 2 and 3K region. Might get a bit too much, but I think it's okay because it's quite balanced in its harmonics. So yeah, it's a very pleasant sounding. It never gets overly bright, never gets overly dark. It's right there, really. It's very good. And you do have that type of planar slam and mid-range too. You do feel that. It's different, definitely. If you've never listened to a planar before, this is definitely a good chance for you to experience one. Experience a good tuned, a well tuned planar IEM. Yeah, really recommend these. It's so easy to recommend in my opinion. And for the last and probably least, to be completely honest, the Moondrop Crescent. Oh, look at that. It's the MMCX modded one, so you obviously don't get the cable here. You also get the pouch, yes, of course, useful pouch, and you have 3 sets of ear tips. I don't know where is the middle one, but probably out there. These sound bloated. To be honest, some of the comments on, or I don't know from where, maybe from Facebook, maybe from forums, audio forums, I read a lot of people said that Crescent is the best Moondrop, the best budget Moondrop. I disagree. I think the Arias and the Starfields are much better. And yeah, the Crescent just sounds bloated, just sounds no control here. It's vented, so yeah, you don't also have isolation here. Although I don't really like an IEM that's really isolating, I prefer the vented, to be completely honest. It's not the best. this is definitely not the best. The tuning here is quite okay, I guess, but the mid-range, I think it's a bit too drowned out. In my opinion, it's a bit... The bass is definitely a bit too much too, so... Not my favorite IM, but it's okay, I guess. If you have one, enjoy yours. If you don't have one, yeah, you have a lot of other IMs that you should buy before you go and look for these. Yeah, but it's overall quite decent at time of release probably. So yeah, I guess that's it for my initial impressions of these IMs. Some of them hits the mark, like the 7Hertz Timeless. Some of them just outright garbage, like the 22 EVOs. To be completely honest, it's not the outright garbage. If it's a standalone IM, you do have some good qualities here. But with the 22s, the original 22s existing, I can't see any fucking reason, any logic for you to buy the 22 EVOs, except if you're going to tune them, you're going to EQ them, or you just like your hearing is just so fucked up that you can't hear treble, and the amount of treble elevation in the 22 EVOs is just the only way that you're going to hear treble. So might as well have fun. Because this is quite technical too. For it's definitely very technical for its price. It's a bit less technical than the Timeless though. The Timeless is fucking insane in my opinion. And with the Mele and the Reecho SG-01s, I think it's quite a bit toss up. I think it's not tough. I'm a bit indifferent with these two, because the Mele is actually quite good. I would listen to the Mele for some time. The SG-01 is a bit more technical, although its tuning is really not on par with the Mele. I think although it has better treble extension, of course, here, it's a bit more exciting, it's a bit more technical, it's a bit more dynamic too. So, but the Mele is pleasing. It's more pleasing sounding. The Crescent, yeah, just don't look at the fucking Crescent, because it's an older IM. Yeah, definitely. But I can see anyone liking the Mele a lot. So yeah, I guess that's it for my first impressions. Don't forget to tune in for the full review for every single one of these, except probably for the Crescent, because you can't buy it anymore. So there's no need for me to fully review them. See you next time. Godspeed.